Lovely to see you all. So Chanukah, Chinuch, and inspired parenting. What I'd like to speak about first was about Chanukah, and go through actually some of the practical side of Chanukah and take the lessons from there, and we'll see of them. With the word Chanukah actually comes the word Chinuch. Chinuch means educate. Now, many people think that education means it's only about what we do for the children, but what I would like to focus on is Chinuch of ourselves, parenting ourselves. Because I think that's where it all starts. In fact, many people weren't parented properly. Not blaming any parents, but often difficult in a generation, as many of us know ourselves. You know, we were brought up in a generation, and the next generation, it changes so fast that actually when it's our turn, it's actually quite a challenge. So it's so different. So we just try our best. That's all we can do. But so therefore, what I'd like to work on is parenting ourselves. That's the angle I'm coming from, of ways that we can build as a chinuch for ourselves, and inspired parenting is really the angle I'd like to take, is really on ourselves, and automatically what works on us will automatically spill over into, please God, on our children. But really the focus is going to be on ourselves, okay? It's much easier to tell the kids what to do, agreed? Than to tell yourself, okay? Agree? Yeah, do you agree on that? Okay. So you're lucky, you're a child and you're hearing it as well. So it's for you as well. I would like to do it through the lens of Chanukah. Okay? So Hilchos Chanukah and the laws of Chanukah, the Rambam says, as I'm quoting from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, who quotes the Rambam in Perek Gimel of Hilchos Chanukah, and he talks as follows. We know a little bit of the history. It was in the time of the second Beis HaMikdash when Malchus Yovan ruled. It's important to get the historical perspective of actually what's happening. In fact, the Maral says, on the dreidel, we've got, what's the four letters on the dreidel? Nes, Gadol, Haya, Sham, yeah, which is Nun, yeah, Gimel, Hey, Shin, which stands for, says the Maral. You know what the Maral says? Sorry again? No, he's talking about the four exiles, which we'll go through soon, but he actually says, Nun stands for Nafshi, okay, spiritual, okay. Next one, Nes Gadol Gimel stands for Gufni, the body, physical. Next one is Nes Gadol Haya, Hey means Hakol, everything. And Shin stands for Sichli, intellectually. Okay, and he says that all these, and they all spin, what's the point at the bottom? The Jewish people. Everything spins around the Jewish people. And he says as follows, so the four exiles, we'll just run through quickly to make sure everyone's on board. So we know Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, built the first temple. And after he built the first Beis HaMikdash, which stood for how many years? 410 years. 410 years, the Beis HaMikdash started. Who destroyed the first temple? Nebuchadnezzar from Babylon, from Bavel. He came in, and what did he do? He exiled all the Jews to? By the rivers of? Okay, by the rivers of Babylon. That's where. How was life by the rivers of Babylon there? How was it? Was it good life? Did they try and destroy us?
But at first it was bad, and then it was not. Then it seemed okay.
Yeah.
People didn't want to get back.
Exactly. So at first it was a struggle, but afterwards, as Alistair correctly said, things were quite cool out there. In fact, people started enjoying it. And they wanted to stay there. In fact, their mission of Bavel, of destruction, was on their dreidel. They wanted to destroy only the Beis HaMikdash. So the first one was Nun Nafshi. They just wanted to destroy the nefesh, the soul of the Jewish people, which is the Beis HaMikdash. That was their mission. The Jews now in Babylon, which is today, which country? Iraq. It's now in Iraq. And when it's in Iraq, so now Jewish people there. And what happens there? Everybody, it's very settled. In fact, the thriving of Torah Sheba'al Peh takes place. The Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud is taking place there. Then along comes somebody called Ezra HaSofer. Ezra HaSofer was one of the last Nevi'im. Sorry? I know, but it was a scholarship of during that time. Started all then, yeah. The Bible was printed later on, yeah. But it was all a combination of it all. Then what happened? Ezra HaSofer, what happened? He now comes and he starts the first Zionist movement that we know, and also the first outreach movement after Avraham Avinu. Of course, Avraham Avinu was the first outreach movement. And then we have Ezra, which is known. He had a project of bringing back the masses. and also through Aliyah, bring people back to Israel. What percentage came up from Babylon? Anyone? A lot of Jews came up? I'm not. 42,000, which was not much. A small percentage come up to Israel, and they start to build the Beis Hamikdash only minimum. In fact, the Mishnah says, in 70 years, that's all they're there for. First 70 years before Israel came, the assimilation rate was incredible. So Jews, life was good, and then assimilation took place. And what happened during that time? The Mishnah says, Asara Yochsen, 10 types of categories of Jews came up. They were Kohanim, Leviim. There were also Mamzerim there. There were loads of intermarriage and learned Sefer Ezra, the book of Ezra. And you'll see there's a discussion what happened. Was there conversion taking place, or was there divorce? There's a whole thing. But basically, you saw in 70 years, the amount of assimilation took place was incredible. But I was thinking about it, it's not so astonishing. Think about 75 years ago was the end of the Second World War. What's the percentage of assimilation in the last 75 years? Anyone? In America, what's it now? 50%. 50%? It's more than 50% in America. So it's in the 70, 80% in America, and other places as well, not just America. So in 75 years, that means in previous after all, people wouldn't, even the most secular Jew wouldn't want somebody to marry, and they wouldn't, etc., and they would sit shiva, and now 75 years later, unbelievable. Look in America, for example, and in this country. So you can see in a very short amount of time when life is good, that's the danger. So that was the Babylonian Empire. Then Ezra comes up, and we said, so now a minority of Jews live in Israel. Yeah? With me? Okay, that's why I want to sit here. I want to hug you. Okay. Can't fall asleep next to you. Okay. And nobody wants to sit this side. Poke him. Okay, wake up. Okay. All right, it's very good. Alistair. Okay, got a cup of water here in case you doze off. Okay. Okay. Everyone else awake still?
Yep.
Fantastic. Everyone's doing really well. Just check that Avi on the camera. Thank you, Avi. You awake? Good. Thank you, Avinash. The great man who looks after the Shema Bni website and works very hard, and is also videoing day. And you can see it all again. Anything you missed, you'll do Chazar of the Shurim. You can see it on the YouTube channel. And that's the only thing YouTube is for Shurim. Well, okay. Don't waste your time with everything else. Okay. Now, so where are we up to now? Alistair, so what happens now? The small amount of Jews are now resettling and starting the building of the Second Temple, but the Babylonian Empire starts to fall. Who does it fall into? Whose hands? The Persian Empire. The Persian Empire now take over. And the Persian Empire, they are now ruling, and they take over the Babylonian, and Jews now are spread beyond Babylon into the Persian Empire. And then comes along someone called King Achash, and he makes a decree, and he says, stop building the Beis Hamikdash, the Second Temple. He halts the building of the Second Temple. Okay, so now again, only minority Jews in Israel, majority now the Golus is spreading throughout the other land. Okay, then what happens? We know the story, the Purim story takes place all the time during the halting of the building of the Second Temple, and then comes, what happens then, Jordan? What happens after the Greeks? But the Greeks aren't here. Something else happens first. Esther, who was forced to marry Achashverosh, has a child whose name is Darius, or Daryavish in Hebrew. He now becomes the king, the emperor, the leader, the head, of the Persian Empire. Nice Jewish boy, right? He's now there. And what does he do? He instructs the continuation, the completion of the Second Temple. So now it's done by Darius. He starts building the Second Temple. Second Temple complete. Although it's the Second Temple, and there's a lot of excitement, majority of Jews that are not living in the land of Israel. The Second Temple does not have the excitement of the First Temple. The 10 miracles, what were the 10 miracles in the first Beis Hamikdash? Anyone?
Yeah, the woman never...
No woman miscarried. Yeah, that's right. The incense, the fire from the Mizbeach went straight up. No, if there was a windy day, it did blow up. Anything else? No flies.
There was no fault in the showbread.
There was no?
In the showbread.
Yeah, there was no? Never went stale? Yeah. What about one when they used to bow down in the Beis Hamikdash? It was packed tight. And when they all squashed standing, but when they bowed down, prostrated themselves, there was a miracle, there was space for everyone. What happened in the Second Temple? What happened in the Second Temple? It was squashed. That miracle didn't take place. What else was the other one? There was
Scorpion.
the scorpion. There was all the miracles did not. In fact, they didn't even have the Oren HaKodesh. The Holy Ark was nignaz. It was stored away. They didn't even have it. So it was just a little bit of hope for the Jewish people. That's why they rebuilt the Second Temple. Now, during the time of the Second Temple, during that time, along come now. It's the end of the Persian Empire, and it's taken over by. Isn't there the Medes come in there somewhere? They're partners with the Persians. There's the Persians, and everyone forgets about them. They were started off and they disappeared. They're the Medes. But anyway, we'll talk about the Greeks, the Assyrian Greeks. They come in and they now take over the empire. Okay, but now we said before we had the Persian Empire. So the Babylonian Empire was nafshi. They just wanted to store the soul of the Jewish people, which was the base of Mikdash. What did the Persian Empire want to do to us? Gufni, they want to destroy the body of Haman, they wanted to kill us. So that was the physical destruction, that's the Gimel. And now we have the Greek, who is the Shin, which is Sichli, intellectually. There was an intellectual attack against the Jewish people. In fact, as we said, most of the Jews were living around the globe, right? As far as España, right? The Gemara talks already España, Spain, right? England. I don't know what was happening on this thing here. So how are we going to get to that? That's one more left.
It's in the wrong order.
Depends how you can make the order yourself. Depends which way you spend it. No, he said it doesn't seem to say it has to be in that order. Yeah. It's drush, so convenient. You can play with it. Yeah. But good question. Thank you for listening. At least somebody noticed. Okay. I thought I got away with that one. Okay, there's the morale, so you can't hear. Okay, so where are we holding? We are now holding by the Greeks, and we know it's interesting. The attack was on a minority of Jews in the land of Israel, and it came through Sichli, an intellectual philosophy, a Greek philosophy, which was called Hellenism. And in fact, most of the Jews, or a big significant proportion of Jews, were influenced by the thinking of that time, Hellenism, which is about the Greek philosophy, about the human being the center of all, the Olympics, the muscle, and the human being, etc. And many Jews got caught into that. So when we talk, the Hellenists were fighting, it was the Jews themselves were fighting. All right? This took place over many years. When we talk about the Chanukah story, everybody thinks, how it was like about 8 days it lasts for, right? That's how long it took. How long did this go on for? 100 years. So the battle was 52 years. The Bach says it was 52 years. It was just a fight with the Assyrian Greeks, with the Yavonim. 52 years. The whole period was a few hundred years. So we just celebrate in 8 days. So we think, just 8 days, yeah. Like the Purim story didn't take place just in one day. Just have a good party in one day. Yeah. There's a saying in Yiddish, a ganz Jahr Purim. The whole year should be Purim, yeah, because it took place over a whole year. Yeah, what do you reckon, Josh?
I'd love to.
Yeah, fancy dressed. Oh yeah, one big party, being drunk the whole. Okay, some of us. Anyway. Okay, so here's the Greek thing. That's interesting. I want to go through. So now we're at the Greek thing. Now, just to finish off, eventually the Greek Empire will come back to Chanukah. Eventually, the Greek Empire overtaken by the Romans, and they are giving us everything. They're attacking us philosophically. They want to kill us, and they also want to destroy, and they finally destroy the second base of Mikdash. Hence, they get the hay for Hakol. They do everything, all of it. Okay? So those are the 4 exiles which are spinning around on the Jewish people. Okay? So now let's go back to Chanukah, but I think it's really important is to realize it was only a small percentage of the Jewish people were affected by the Chanukah story, and it was in the land of Israel. So what we're celebrating is something which happened in the Jewish people at that time. And we know the Rambam says they made terrible decrees. It's interesting, people always aware of 3 decrees. I didn't say 3 degrees. I give away my age then if anyone knows what they are. Okay, so remember them, right? Yeah, no? Okay, so anyway, remembers. Okay, so there were 3 decrees that they were made. What were the 3 decrees? Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, yeah, Brit Milah, and but they Shabbos Torah study. No, because Shabbos Rosh Chodesh is Zman on the Zman. Yeah. Okay, Shabbos Chodesh Milah. Some say, yeah. Now, and also Talmud Torah. But in fact, if you look in the Rambam, it's clear that it was much wider than that. Gozru Gezeris al Yisrael, they made incredible, intense decrees in the Jewish people. Ubotlu Datam, they annulled the religion. They stopped everything. It wasn't just those three things. Maybe it started those three things, but bottled Datam, the Ram said. They wanted to stop the religion. And they didn't allow them, says the Ram, lasik b'torah mitzvahs, to busy themselves at all with Torah mitzvahs. The Medrash says there was a decree, nobody was allowed to close their front door. Everybody's front door had to be open, so they could see whatever was going on, all privacy, etc., and all practice of mitzvahs was already decreed then. V'sal lehem Yisrael, and they made things very constricted for us very much, and they put on us lachatz gadol. They put on us an incredible lachatz. What's a lachatz? Pressure. Everyone knows that one, yeah? And I've got a friend of mine herself on this front door of his house, lachatz-free zone. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it's a good thing. They put a lachatz out until Sharichem Aleim Alekev V'Seinu HaKadosh Baruch Hu had mercy upon us, and He saved us from their hands, and there was a salvation. And so that was, in other words, it all happened. It was much more diverse and wider than we may think, but also only affected only a small amount of the Jewish people. For Govru B'nei Chashmai, obviously what's happening in the land of Israel has an impact on what happens in the Golan all around. I do think it's interesting to compare where we are today and looking as well since 1948, when there is an opportunity to go back, but still there's so many Jews in the Gola who were outside, which is also interesting to notice that and why that's so. And I encourage everybody, I mentioned in Shul yesterday, in my drasha, and I mentioned, and I say again, that really everybody has to ask their Rav a shaila. Because really, that's where we're all supposed to be. We're supposed to be back home. That's the best place to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Eretz Yisrael. The only reason we're here is because we have a heta. Yeah, we must have asked a shaila. If you didn't, you better ask one. Right? It could be shalom bayis. My wife, she doesn't like it there. She thinks it's the heat, I can't focus, yeah? Maybe it's pranosa, probably most of it, yeah? There's pranosa, maybe it's because of pranosa. Maybe it could be any other reasons? Children, chinuch, some people chinuch. So there's lots of different reasons, but everybody should ask a shayla. We're here on a heta to be in Chutz La'aretz for the reasons that the Shulchan Aruch says. But ultimately, we need to get back there as soon as possible. V'gavru b'nei Chashmonai, kind of as Rabbi Kirsch said, the Chashmonaim who are koinim gedolim, v'hargum, they came back, they were ones who led the rebellion against the Greeks, and they saved Klal Yisrael, physically because of the war, and also spiritually because of the Hellenism which was taking over the Jewish people in its time. It's an interesting thing that it was, as I think Rabbi Kirsch mentioned, the Bach, he says that Dafka had to be the Kohanim who saved it. Why was it Dafka the Kohanim? Because they were the ones that caused it. That means the Bach Rabbi Kirsch quoted before, just remind those who maybe floated off. So at least if I say it twice, everyone will come and they'll know what the Bach said. Yeah. So not the composer, by the way. The Bach is the commentary on the Torah. The real Bach. Yeah. You can listen if you want a bit of background music in the background. Then, but when you're learning the Bach, but the real Bach is called the Bayit Chadash. The Bayit Chadash. He wrote a commentary on the Torah, and he says here. Here's one I prepared earlier. If you look through the square window. Sorry, my jokes are very outdated, I know. But some people get them. It's nostalgia, really. It's not. Okay. So where are we holding? Oh, I put a bookmark on. Yeah, look at that. I did prepare. Okay. So the Bach says as follows. He asks a question. He asks an interesting question. He asks, why is it on Purim we celebrate with a su'udah? We have a big feast. On Chanukah, the Shulchan Aruch says clear. He says no obligation to have a meal at all. And in fact, he uses a very strange language here. He says, Yesh oimrim, some say, shemitzvah laharbas kasas, but su'udah b'Chanukah. Some say it's a mitzvah to increase a bit with a little meal on Chanukah. All right? But nevertheless, it's not called a sudas mitzvah. It's not a meal of a mitzvah. And he says, unless, of course, we sing songs of praise and we say words of Torah there. But there's no obligation. So the Bach asks the question, why is it on Chanukah that there's no obligation to have a meal, whereas on Purim there is no obligation to have a meal? And also, the same question applies, why in the Purim story, how do they fight back? They fall back spiritually. They fasted, whereas in the Chanukah story, there was actually a military campaign. The Jews in Purim did defend themselves on that Friday, but it was basically through tefillah and fasting. Whereas on Chanukah, it was actually military.
Doesn't it say at the end of the Megillah that they killed about 75?
Yeah, that was only because that was in self-defense when they were attacked. They didn't go. It wasn't the way to stop the decree. Was they went out to fight? They were given permission to defend themselves. But here, their main strategy was fasting and tefillah. So we can ask, well, where's Chanukah? It wasn't that. It wasn't. We don't see anything about that at all. Nobody fasts on Chanukah. We fast all day and eat donuts at night. No, on the contrary, it's forbidden to fast on Chanukah, right? It's also to have a tanis. So he says interesting things. He says the difference is, what was the decree in Purim? What was the decree? They wanted to physically kill us. But why did that? Why did Achashverosh want to physically kill us? Because what did we do wrong? Because we were nene ma'oisa su'uda. We went to that feast where the celebration of the downfall of the Jewish people, because there was a nevuah 70 years later, the temple would rebuilt, and they stopped that. And the Jewish people were nene ma'oisa su'uda. They had pleasure, they enjoyed the su'uda. It doesn't say they ate treif. There's a dispute. Some say they ate non-kosher food, and some say they had homolis. It was all homolis. They all catered everything there in nice. It wasn't even the plastic. It was the proper plates. You get these proper nice plates today. Yeah? There, and but they enjoyed it, and they brought all the kalim for the Beis Hamikdash, and everybody was enjoying the party there. So they sinned through eating, and therefore with their bodies. So that what was the test? The Gezerah decree was to on the guf, and the physical degree. How do we get back again? So in other words, what's the teshuvah? So the teshuvah is spiritual. Essentially, they tried to attack us physically, so we have to respond back spiritually. The Chanukah story, what was the Chanukah story? The Yavonim tried to destroy us through intellectually. So how do we attack them? Physically. We don't use the same tool that they afflicted us, we fight physically. But why? What did we do wrong? What was the Aveira? What was the cause of the sin on the Chanukah story? Why did that decree happen to us? Rabbi Kirsch mentioned it.
We didn't take laziness.
Laziness. So lazy. So he says it's interesting. Not lazy. A close word because you have to read the word carefully. It's not actually laziness. It's because lazy is obvious. There's a word here. He says because shehishrashlu ba'avoida, they were lax in the avoida. And there's a nice word which yours brings here. Lethargic. They were lethargic. They weren't lazy. They were lethargic. What's the difference? Anyone?
Lazy is who you are.
Lazy is who you are, okay.
You're doing it, but you're not.
Lazy is not doing anything. Actually, also, if you're lazy, you should know about it. I'm lazy. Lethargic is different. You get the job done. So we all know people at work. They get the job done always, right? I'm not lazy. The job's always done. There may be last minute, it may be slapdash, but it was done with lethargy. It was done with... And he says that midah is worse than laziness, because laziness you can rectify because you can see it. When someone's lethargic, it's hard for a person themselves to see it. And this is an important part of the chinuch of ourselves, which is I want to bring a chinuch of ourselves and the children. This is such an important midah. In fact, in the work called Choivas HaTalmidim, from the PRE-CHANUKAH Rebbe, who I'm sure you've heard me quote before, it's been printed in many different prints. This is printed by a Feldheim. And it tells you how to be a student. We're all students. Even the greatest rabbi is called a Talmud Chacham. He's not called a Chacham. The Sfardim say Chacham, right? And the Adonis also say? Yes. They say Chacham. The Ashkenazim we say, and the Gemara says, Talmudei Chachamim. What's the Talmud Chacham mean? He's learning to be a Chacham. He's always learning on the job. Right? All of us need to be a Talmud. We're always learning. So this book is not just for students, for kids. It's for every one of us. And the first midah he says that person needs to work on is this trait of being lax, being lethargic, and which comes from here on Chanukah. And he says here the Jewish people started with on Chanukah. It starts with the story. He says here that he's surashlu ba'avoida. Now I'd like to use a bit of drama for this one. Okay, you ready? Okay. Bit of drama. Can't I be sitting down for 2 hours, guys? I'll be sleeping by now. Okay. Okay, so imagine you come to the base of Mikdash. You're a Kohen, aren't you? No, any Kohen in here?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And you were sitting next to each other for a reason. Have an Archie. Okay. Right. Fantastic. Please stand up. Okay, very good. All right. So you're the Cohen, all right? So I come here. Hello, Mr. Cohen. It's a nice day. It's the base of Mikdash, and it's pretty good. I noticed it's a bit messy recently. Why? It used to be very spick and span and tidy here. What's going on?
Done my best.
You're doing your best. Well, anyway, I tell you why I came, because accidentally on Shabbos, I switched the light on, and yeah, what korban do I have to bring?
Chatas.
Yeah, the chatas. That's right. Yeah, so I actually brought here. You prepared to help? You want to be a sheep?
I can be a
Okay,
sheep.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
So here's my sheep, which I brought with us. Go on, say hello, Daisy. Yeah, he's come to do teshuva for me. So can you do the business and sort them out, and you do it? No problem. Yeah. Okay. So what do we do now then? Where do we go?
To the mizbeach.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Take it, everyone.
I think I might want to play ends on
Yeah.
that.
We won't take it further now. Mr. Cohen, you are supposed to be the source of inspiration. I've come here and I switched the light on, and you're supposed to say, "Welcome, you've come to the base." You can sit down and say it. Imagine you come to the base of Mikdash, the Kohen say, "Welcome to the base of Mikdash. Oh, you've done an Avera? We'll help you do teshuva. Come and see." And the place is sparkling, and all the Kohen are walking around with Yirah Shamayim there. But when you get there, they're all going, "I tried my best." That's what it was in the base of Mikdash. Yeah, we need a base of Mikdash, guys, okay? And Kohanim are supposed to be ones on fire. So imagine you got to the base of Mikdash, and that's it was. The next guy comes to the base of Mikdash. Okay, the next guy came. I travelled across the sea. So what korban do I have to bring? Anyone? A korban toida. Thanks, you. She come back there and say, "Hey, you're the chairman. You're in charge of the Kohanim. Okay, I brought I've come across the ocean. I brought a korban toida." And you call out, "Yankel! Another korban toida, please. Next." Okay, next. What did you do? I just had a baby. You have to bring a... What's she have to bring? You just had a baby. What korban do you need to bring you have a baby? There's a few. A toida, say thank you, and also a sin offering. Why does a lady give birth needs to give a sin offering? I'm not going to have any more. That's it. That's enough. Yeah. Okay. So a sin offering. Two more. Okay. We've got a sin offering here and a thank you offering. Where do we go? Okay. Yankel, take it on. Another sin offering. Oh no, another sin offering. And the guy's out. "Can you stop with the sin offerings? This is just too much over here. And the blood's getting all over the place here." Remember, Second Temple flies flying around here. It's squashy. You get the picture. Ever get the picture? Everyone's awake now. Okay, very good. By the way, I really feel it's an important part of learning is drama. And actually, it's the Rabbi of PRE-CHANUKAH, he says that when we learn things, we shouldn't just read them from a book. We should act them out. Or he says using the power of visualization. When you're learning something, you should visualize it. So when you're hearing a share, you should actually imagine it. Many people do. Right? When you're talking, you actually see the picture. Some people are more visual learners, some are audio learners, different types of learners, right? But you can see very much that acting something out or doing visualization is a very important tool for ourselves, for our children, and often when we're giving a Devar Torah and sharing the excitement around the Chanukah candles, actually drama is an important way. Make it real, make it alive. And I say, yes, there were candles, and because there were one day we found a little bit of oil, we need a bit of life, a bit of fire. So Hashem, the Kohanim is the reason how we're going to get the Kohen. We're going to get more fire, right? Amazing, beautiful. You're Sephardi, you're supposed to go, wow, has he got a bad temper? You must have, he's Sephardi, come on. Yeah, you have, yeah? Come tell me. No. Okay, you're hanging around with the Ashkenazis too much. Come on, eating gefilte fish and herring, that's what happens to you. More charif, give him more charif, No, do you not agree? It's the charif puts you on fire, no? Okay, fantastic. Yes, Bruno?
Yes, indeed.
Fantastic, amazing, yes? Okay, wonderful. So here we are. We've got to keep an eye on the time because we're carried away otherwise. Okay, so where are we? So we had the base of Mikdash. Should we say things? People are lethargic, and that's how it was in the base of Mikdash. Every day, day in, day out, and without the miracles, without seeing the Shechina in the temple, it just came like, sure. Let's face it, we just get into shul and everyone's there. It's like, you get there, Shabbos morning, and you're there, and a few old men are there, and it gets a bit, here we are again, and the men putting on tefillin every day. It all starts getting, everything's a bit lethargic because we did it yesterday and we'll do it again tomorrow. And then we get a bit worried when we see the teenagers going a bit, and it's apathy, which is probably one of the biggest plagues today, is amongst ourselves and youth, is apathy. So the only way really is inspiration, being on fire, and it comes from us. We've got to work on ourselves. That's important. And in fact, the Mesilas Yesharim says, the Bali Musa says one important thing is, one of the ways to be, because the opposite of being of lethargic is, Alistair? Enthusiasm. Says the Mesilas Yesharim, how do you get enthusiastic about it? I'm not enthusiastic about this, really. How do you become enthusiastic, anyone? Pretend. He says, Mesilas Yesharim, chitzonius ma'oiras apneumius. Yeah, no, I didn't feel like just acting out just now. I feel it's Sunday morning with a migraine from too much cholent and whiskey, it goes. Yeah. So, but acting out something is incredible. So we see for ourselves actually being chitzonius, the more we act out, we're enthusiastic with our Yiddishkeit and our fulfillment of our mitzvahs. It's Chanukah! Let's light the menorah! Yes! And then we make Kiddush. We're going to make it a Baruch Atah Hashem. With life, with a kol, and to talk about the story with enthusiasm, it's such a powerful thing for ourselves. It's amazing, and even if you don't feel like it, push yourself that little step. And that's why we saw the Kohanim in the end. What did the Kohanim do? Their sin was because they were lethargic. The impact on the rest of the Jewish people, the source of inspiration was going to the temple. There was no inspiration anymore. So what happened? They lost it, and some of the Jewish people, some more exciting idea comes out: Hellenism. There's always another ism that comes in. There's always another ism, and that was Hellenism. And nowadays it's another ism. Every time. What's the ism today, anyone? Television. What's that? It's on your phone, it's on your computer. Television, gone. Anything
iPodism.
So again? iPodism. Technologism, you can say that. Distractionism, fear, whatever, all the isms of today, equality and however you want to put it. It just is described a greenism. I'm not against these things, just as a movement, right? That comes your life. But why people are excited about it? Why excited about it? Because it's nouveau, because it's cool, because it's funky, because it's in. And Torah is old, it's been around a few thousand years already. It's a bit boring, it's a bit old already. But it's a more relevant and as well as relevant there's ever been. We need Torah mitzvahs and a life structure of life more than ever before. It gives us deeper meaning and a perspective, a hashkafa, how to look at life. This is what keeps us alive. And it was only through the Kohanim that they kept it going again. And we see that's the lesson we can learn for ourselves, inspiring ourselves and Hashem and our children, please God, as well. And that was their problem here. That was the source was Refoyan. In other words, often he brings down here in the Sefer from Rav Cheskel Levenstein. So he brings down one of the Bali Musa. He says that usually when we want to do tshuva, we try and improve us. Like, let's learn more. Let's do more chesed. Let's give more tzedakah. It's always about doing. But he says the point of teshuva is in the inner work. And the truth is, when the people here, we're talking to people who are 613 nicks. Right? Everyone's a 613, right? Yeah, actually 620 nicks, right? Because there's 7 mitzvahs to Rabbanon, 7 rabbinic mitzvahs. What are the 7 rabbinic mitzvahs? Hallel. That's on Chanukah as well. Hallel. Anything else? Chanukah, near Chanukah. So we've got 2 rabbinic mitzvahs on Chanukah. What's the other 5? Purim, reading Megillah, Purim. Next thing is Netilas Yadayim, washing your hands for Suda. Brachas, all brachas we make, a bracha on a mitzvah, a bracha on a benefit. On benefits, we have any benefit we have, and if we're in a bracha on thanks, right? Is that 5? What's the other 2? Eruv, very good. So that's fast. It's a good question. The Achron asks why the fast not included in the 7 mitzvahs. That's a good question. The answer is because the 7 mitzvahs are things which will last forever, and all the fasts are not going to last forever. Eventually, they're going to be annulled when the Mashiach comes. And in fact, one of them, Tisha B'Av, will be a Yom Tov. So it's only things will last forever. So let's do again. So we've got Hallel, Chanukah, Purim, Chanukah, Hallel, Purim. We've got Eruv. We've got Netilas Yadayim, and we've got brachas. Before, no, is that 6? We need one more.
Some study when-
Shabbos candles. That's it. Shabbos, near Shabbos. That's the same ones. Well done. So I'm talking to 620, the 620 mitzvah guys. Right? That's what we're talking about. So what do we need to do? Once you're doing all the mitzvahs, it's really about the inner work, about the motivation working inside. And that's what actually was going here. They were doing all the mitzvahs. They had the base of mikdash, they had everything. But what about the inner work? And he said that's where a person needs to focus on the inside. And so this is the idea of Chanukah, about really the main message of Chanukah. And we said that was how they battled, and even though things were difficult, and eventually only because they made the effort, they overcame the Yavonim. And actually, eventually, what happened was the Kohanim ruled for further. They not only did they win, actually the royalty, another word for royalty, the kingship, thank you, the Malchus, Chazon Malchus Yisrael, for another over 200 years until destruction of the Second Temple. There is a discussion about were the Kohanim right to do that, because the royal family comes from the tribe of Yehuda and not from the tribe of Levi, the Kohanim. Okay, so that's for another shir. That's the Ramban in Parshas Vayechi. It says. Now I'd like to finish off here with one more last thing, and then we'll wrap up. I'm happy to take any questions, comments, questions.
The fast being annulled. He
Yeah.
asked about some Gedalia, and I thought it said some Gedalia would remain.
Yeah, I haven't seen that written. Where's that written? Don't remember seeing
I'm
that.
happy to be wrong on that.
No, I haven't seen that one. It talks about. It talks about Rambam says that Purim will remain. So, but I have the Navi brings in Zechariah. All these fasts, some this, some that. All the fasts will be turned into Yom Tovim. So, Prosek and Zechariah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that to talk about some Gedalia there as well? Can look up after. Okay, I haven't seen that. Could be right. Okay, excuse me.
I seem to recall also that the Hashmonaim, not Mattityahu was righteous and all of that, but the following kings, the Hashmonaim kings, they weren't so observant.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if they want to observe. What happened was over.
They were Hellenistic.
Yeah, well, what happened was it's interesting. What happens? Rabbi Burrow Weinall says whenever there's a rebellion, the rebels take on all the problems that they're rebelling against. So the Hashmonaim took power. They became the kings, and they came the leadership. They ran the temple, and they were the royal family, and then corruption came in. So that was really there. Was in the Second Temple. There was a lot of corruption would go. So I don't know about not from, but I know there was corruption that's spoken about.
Well, that's not.
That's exactly, yeah, of course, yeah.
Can I ask, so with
Sure.
regard to you mentioned that Chanukah trying to pretend to keep it fresh. Chanukah.
Let's only start with being pretending, and then you will become real. If you can do it real, it's even better, Shlomi.
Chanukah naturally, and I don't think of any of all the Yom Tovim, it must be the hardest to keep fresh because it's 8 days, which is the longest out of anything, and it's all the same every day.
I think Simchas Torah Sukkah, Simchas Torah is 9 days.
There's different things for there. While this is just the same. It's like
It's not the
light
same.
candle.
On the first night is 1 candle, second night is 2 candles, and now it's the first night we have jam donuts, and the second night we have candle donuts. It's just Shlomi, exactly, made a very good point. It could be samey, that's part of the problem. Then that comes. And by the way, Shabbos is the same thing. If every week Shabbos is the same thing will happen. It just gets banotas. It's potato kugel again. So therefore, this week's is potato kugel. Next week it's roast potatoes. Next week it's loshen kugel. Next week it's carrot kugel. Then there's zucchini and chocolate chip kugel. You tried that one? Yeah? Exactly, try one. I said zucchini because the first I heard it was by Americans in Israel. I said, what's that? Zucchini? Courgettes, yeah? Courgette and chocolate chip kugel, all right? Anything else? I've missed anything else out? Apple, chocolate, Yerushalmi kugel. Gary, didn't you? Pineapple kugel. You see, that's already, and we're sure we can invent a new one as we go through. You know, we can do anything with donut kugel. You know, we'll find something. It's not difficult today. Anything goes, you know. Yeah, exactly. We could come up with, you know, say you keep Shabbos fresh, having a different food. As I can say that if Shabbos can come along, so davening every day, the same words. So we have to find a new thing. I said a beautiful idea. It says that the Torah is compared to milk. One of the reasons on Shavuos we have milk, right? Milky foods is because Torah is compared to milk. Shlomo Melech says, "Chalav devash tachas l'shoincha," milk and honey under your tongue. So the Gemara, the Marsha says in Kedusha, a very beautiful way, what's the comparison to milk? So he says as follows, a beautiful idea. He says, you know, when you have a newborn baby and you're nursing the baby, and they give the mummy is nursing the baby, does the baby ever complain, say, "Mommy, The same thing again. You can figure how long do you know you can be up to 2 years old. Same thing, breakfast, lunch, supper, snacks, everything in between, the same milk. Right? And we try it with teenagers. Oh, pasta, oh, there you go. Right? When they're 9, no, I'm not eating supper, I do it. Right? Just want pasta again, that's like that, etc. So why does a baby not complain? You ever notice that? I thought about it. The baby never comes, they're always hungry.
They don't know anything else.
But it's not the same though.
Oh, says the Maharshal, that every day is a new taste for the child. Could be because their memory, they don't remember what the last meal was. Yeah, I'm sure I'm the same as well. I don't remember what I ate last. Okay, oh, I had a donut. Yeah, I think I do. Anyway, so I have another one just in case. Anyway, so we'll save that for later. So what happens? A person, it could be they don't remember, or it says, the Maharshal says there's a new taste. Because what the mum eats has on the milk, and it has a different taste. So he says, really, it's the same thing, but the child finds a new taste in it. So he says the Torah is the same thing. The Torah is like mother's milk. He says, really, it's milk, it's mother's milk, it's the same thing. But the person, the makabel, the child, always tastes a new taste in it. And I think that's Torah. Torah mitzvahs, there's always a new angle, a new fresh approach to it. There's so many different levels. There are 70 faces to the Torah. Shivim ponim the Torah. And we also know there's 4 different ways of elucidating the Torah. Paradise, the orchard, pshat, remesh, drush, soid. All those 4 different ways, and that's times 70. 70 times 4 is, any accountants here? And you're not even an accountant. Amazing. It's 280. And there's 613 categories of mitzvahs. Not just mitzvahs, just categories. There's 613 times 240. It's the tree of life with branches and twigs and leaves and fruits. It's unending Torah. There's a new flavor. There's so much depth to it. All right? There's so much to it. So we just need to find, dig and dig and keep finding it. So we can go through another Chanukah. It's another Chanukah. Or it's another day Chanukah. And it's true. And the Yetzer Hara is working hard on this. And this year it's actually easy because it's during school holidays. So it makes it a little bit easier over the bank holidays. We're not so rushed. We're not working. As you rush back from home from work and school roads and everything else, you rush back and you quickly let them go and you're stressed and the kids. And it could be a little bit calmer. But prepare. If you want to have a good Chanukah, you've got to prepare. Misha Torach Erev Shabbos, the Gemara says, somebody who prepares on Erev Shabbos, who yechel b'Shabbos, he'll have Shabbos food. You want to have a nice, delicious, geschmuck Shabbos meal? Ladies, you know you've got to prepare for it. Gentlemen, you know you have to prepare for it. It's equal world now. You've got to make it. The men, you've got to make the cholent, yeah? Or buy it, whatever you can do, but you've got to do it. Right? It's not just about washing the dishes in my generation. It was you just had to help clear the table, that was it. But today's generation, you've got to do it, right? That's how it goes, yeah? Mm-hmm. It's equality, that's it. Women are going to work, they go exactly. Got to do exactly the same thing. And even if they're not working, you're there to serve. Just remember that. Okay, the rabbi said so. So there we have it. So it's all about preparing, and if we have a bit of preparation to prepare for ourselves, something we're going to learn. So see if you can do it, if you can learn something if the kids are sleeping, or you're going to prepare a story, or a game, or activity. Make it different. Don't have to have donuts every night. We have to have different things. We don't have a donut every night. By night 4, we can't even look at a donut. Because especially we've been eating donuts. Most people, this is the 3rd time I've had donuts. It's not even Chanukah yet. Pre-Chanukah bud, another the pre-Chanukah seminar. There's 3 lots of donuts already, right? That's what I can remember. Okay, there could have been more. Actually, no, I thought I did have, this was the 4th time. Yeah, exactly. It's not even Chanukah. So you imagine by night 4, you don't want to see a donut, right?
It should be like matzah.
You should have matzah, yeah. So you need to do us 30 days before the month. Yeah, the bakers are selling them already a month before. That's the problem, yeah. So there you got it. So, but it's all about the preparation. So think about different. There's a minhag to have cheese. We know the story that the woman who saved the day, his name was Yehudis. She saved the day, the Chanukah style. That's why women have a mitzvah. Even though it's a time-bound doing mitzvah, women should be exempt. Women have to keep Chanukah. Why? I'm going to have to shout out in the hymns, yeah? So why is it, yeah? So why is it that women keep the Chanukah story? Why they have to light the mitzvah Chanukah? It's a time-bound mitzvah. And the answer is? What's the reason?
Public money.
Because women were affected as well, equally by the decrees of the Greeks. That's the first pshat. And the second pshat is because the woman saved the day. Yeah, Yehudis. You remember Judas, Yehudis? She had that terrible decree that women, before they could get married, they had to spend the night with a Greek general. And so Yehudis, who was the daughter of Yochanan Kohen Gadol, she goes in, she makes some homemade cheese for him, which is very salty, and some wine, and she gives him some cheese. Have some more wine, have some more cheese, have more wine. He falls asleep, and like a good Jewish woman, do you hear, ladies? She pulls out a knife, she chops his head, throws it in a kosher king bag, and she sneaks out the door. And then that was the beginning of the revolt, because they put the head of the general on, they go out to war holding the head, and all the Greeks just ran. All the mighty Greek army just disappeared. And by the way, it's the Gemara says it was the same thing for Purim as well. They were actually in the miracle, and according to the Tosfos, they caused the miracle. And it's the same story, ladies, why women are chayev in the midst of Seder night. Exactly the same thing for saying, because it was being the merit of the righteous women that we came out of Egypt. So no pressure, ladies. Okay, if you wait for us fellas, it's going to be a long time. The time we get ourselves together and make things happen, it's going to be a long time. In order, it was always the Jewish people always got out of Golus and got out of their situation was because, Rachel, they're righteous women. Okay? Ladies? Yeah, of course, exactly. Ladies, and I don't think it's a mistake. It's interesting. I don't think it's a mistake. Sorry, why it's interesting? Why today's generation about the rise of feminism? Not feminism's got its negative sides, but of equality and women, etc. You can see that there was part of the klala on Chava, on Eve. You see, we experience part of the time of Mashiach, because at the time of Mashiach, it says that ultimate Chava will be the same, will be equal again. It was exactly the same, and actually, that you can see it happening in our own eyes. It's an amazing time to experience that. So, ladies, it's in your hands. Make it the inspiration. Give him a big kick up. Yeah, that's it. Now, one more thing I need to finish with. I want to finish with. Any question for my last finale bit? Oh, you're more than me. I knew you'd behave. That's why you were perfect. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I think you had stage fright. Ayal is full of fervor, and but I put him under fever. I put him under fever because we rehearsed this before, and really was. But right, he did very well, and especially with stage fright. So thank you. You mentioned have a future career in this. Okay.
You mentioned that you need a heter to live outside of Israel, but isn't Israel also in Galut to form Galut?
Oh, yes, good point. If you go to live in Israel, say you'd still be considered. It was still the Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, still in Galus. It's true. But nevertheless, the Ramban says even whether it's irrelevant, they still live in the mitzvah. There's a mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisrael. According to the Ramban, there's a mitzvah. And according to others, even there's not a positive mitzvah to live there. That the best place to do mitzvahs is the land of Israel. But the thing is as follows. Some people, and many people, find when you do a mitzvah in Eretz Yisrael, 7 times reward, 7 times more spiritual impact on the world than doing it in Chutz La'aretz. The Gemara says someone who lives in Chutz La'aretz, Rashi brings us in Chumash, as if he doesn't have a God. Ki'ilu ein lo Elokah. He hasn't got a God. So that means that's how distant we are. That means even, it's true, it's godless. But still there's levels. By the way, nobody ever tells you the other side. If you do a mitzvah in Eretz Yisrael, 7 times worse. If you do an Aveira Chas v'Shalom, 7 times worse. Okay, so that could be a reason. I know people out there, the reason I said, I find spiritually very challenging in Eretz Yisrael. And actually my Yetzer Hara is, there's a famous story of the Baal Shem Tov. I think it was the Baal Shem Tov, that he went to Eretz Yisrael, and before he left on the boat, and he said, he told his Yetzer Hara, I don't want to look at anyone at the Yetzer Hara. He told the Yetzer Hara, and he says to him, that's it, I'm going, it was nice to meet you, it's over, I'm off to Yerushalayim. And the Yetzer Hara says, Chaim Shalom, take care. And he travels on the boat for days, weeks, months, years, storms. Eventually he gets to land, gets off the boat in Haifa, and he gets off there. And guess who says, Shalom Aleichem? Who is it? The Yetzer Hara said, what are you doing here? He said, no, here is HQ. Here's headquarters. They're just my agents. It's just a branch. This is HQ. So living in Eretz Yisrael, it's difficult. Yes, as Nikni B'Yisurim Gemara. So one of the things which we acquire through challenges is Eretz Yisrael, learning Torah, davening, and Eretz Yisrael to live there. It's not easy. That's not an easy thing. It's not a light thing, by the way, but it's something a person should consider. And so it's definitely the best place spiritually. The question is, are we ready for it? Is it the right time for us, for our family? What's our responsibilities to our parents, right? Etc. Etc. Yeah, to answer your question? Yes. It's still Golos though. I don't want to say Mashiach hasn't come and I know Rishit Smichat Gulatina and all that stuff, but it's we can debate that. But it's definitely the best place to Makayim and fulfill mitzvahs. I want to wrap up with one more thing. And then there's chocolate money for anybody who feels like a kid. It's good. We should feel like children. By the way, one of the things we learn from children is their enthusiasm, right? They're they're in there's a medrash. I can't find that medrash, but it's a medrash, and it gives like a whole list of things that we can learn from our child. One of the things is they don't stop. They always nag and nag and nag and nag. They don't stop. I want that chocolate. I want that chocolate. They won't. Their persistence and continuity. They just don't stop. But we have to learn it from kids, even though it's difficult to keep going through 8 days of Chanukah and every day Shabbos and all the things they do. Shalom bias. And let's face it. Now my wife's not in the room at the moment, so she can't hear this, right? But it's ongoing. If you ask my wife, she'll say, "What are you working on spiritually now?" You know what she'll tell you? Shalom bias. She always says, Shalom bias, you can always improve. Now, my wife is a Sadiqas, right? But she's married to me, that's the problem. Anyway, so it's something we constantly to work on, Shalom bias. And it's easy just to get into, okay, that's how it is now. We've come to our status quo. We learn to live with each other and get used to it. We, agree to disagree, and that's it. And life just carries on. It's okay to argue, to disagree. It's okay. Don't throw things at each other. Can disagree with each other. That makes it alive. It fans the flames. If anyone says, yes, I agree, yes, whatever you want, that's fine. That's the end. No, disagree, have it out. Fire. A bit of enthusiasm. Not his rush voida, just a bit lethargic and just everything just becomes robotic. Every area of our life, whether it's in marriage or it's in parenting, it's like Yiddishkeit, at work. Same thing, we've got to be fresh. Imagine as you go to the Northern Line on a Monday morning and you skip down the, what's it called, the side where the train comes, what's it called? The platform, that's the word. You skip down the platform and you wish everybody, good morning, good morning. Yeah, in Edgware, everybody's very friendly and they do that, right? Everyone says hello there. Once you get a bit further, you start coming into Hendon and Gold's Green, then it's already everyone's, there.
Because the people in Edgware get the seats.
Oh, that's right. Maybe that's it. So move to Edgware. And what about Bournemouth? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The more further north, we're more northern. Yeah. Anyway. Very good. So it's every area of our life this is relevant to us. So I think it's so important. It's Chanukah, it's inspiring. We need to inspire ourselves, and that's where it starts. And that's that flame of Chanukah. And even though it was only a small amount of the Jewish people affected by the Chanukah story and the Hellenism, etc., wasn't like in the time of the Persian story that the 127 Medinas were affected. It was actually only the Jews of Israel. But we can see this middah has affected all of us. And we see even the darkest time, that little light, that little candle of hope and inspired to switch on the light. It's been a cold, miserable winter. If you look out, that you walk down the road and you see the tree-lined pavements with these sticks growing out of the pavement, these miserable sticks they're poor fellas, they haven't even got leaves, the naked trees just stand there bare. There's poor trees, and they make you look at the sky. It's it's still going a bit grey, and the rain just last night just makes you feel a bit. And that's why Dafka now, through the middle of the winter, you notice Shabbos this week was 1 minute longer. 1 minute, Shabbos came 1 minute later, everything's moving. It's 1 minute so slightly. And that's when we light the candle, Chanukah candle. That little light, that candle of inspiration. We're moving the weather, as we're moving the nature, the world. The Shema Bni says that what's happening in nature is what's happening spiritually. In the spiritual world, you want what's happening. Things now, growth is now moving towards Pesach, spring, and the blossom, Tu B'Shvat, fruit, Purim, Pesach, until we receive the Torah. Here's a little strategy that I want to share with you from the Rebbe appears in the 5th chapter. I highly recommend this. Choivas HaTamid, the student's obligation, printed by Feldheim in English. It's beautiful, and those who have a Kabbalistic tendency and a Hasidic soul, the last 3 parts, he's got 3 essays on introduction to Hasidut and Kabbalah. So it's a great introduction for those who want to get into that, Adam. Okay? So great thing there. All right? No, he's already there. He's already there. But this is a great introduction for men and ladies. So he says there's some specific advice for the lethargic. And what he basically does is, He talks about guys in school or yeshiva, etc. But then he talks about somebody he's left the yeshiva system, he's in the working world already. But basically his message is how it's really about time management and utilizing the time instead of being lethargic, and we waste so much time because we just go slow. But to utilize the time he says, before every endeavor that you undertake, calculate how long it will take you. So any job, how long are you going to spend doing your emails, how long are you going to eat your supper, how long is it going to take you to get dressed in the morning, how long are you going to learn. Take the time and commit yourself to that time frame, because often we spend too long, we're floating through it. For example, if you say to yourself, this page of Gemara should take me an hour to learn, or to do Chazorah on this page of Gemara should take me an hour, etc. And before you say it, you say, I'm not going to slack off during that amount of time. I've got to finish that quota by that amount of time. Whether it says, even from how much time it takes to get out of bed, have a shower, get dressed, etc. How long I'm going to daven for, how long a particular piece of work is going to take me at work. Select a time, specify it to yourself. This work is going to take me a specific amount of time, and I've got to finish it in this time. All right? If you finish it on the time, rejoice. Wow, I did it! I got up and got dressed and everything in 5 minutes. Used to take me 35 minutes. I'm not quite sure what I was doing. I think I fell asleep with my head on the toilet roll. Come on, it's all true. Monday. Okay, so however, if you did not finish on time, if there were unforeseen circumstances that caused your lateness, okay, that's all right. There were unforeseen circumstances. But if there was no reason why you were slacking, you were just floating, you were schluffing along, cruising along, you were just lethargic, then you should scream at yourself, parent yourself. Such an important thing. We have to constantly parent ourselves. And he says you should say to yourself, with enthusiasm, please.
Give out.
No, they're real enthusiasm.
Give out.
Oh, beautiful. That's more like it. Give out! What's going on with me? What's going to bother me? My lethargy is going to cause me to lose my portion in this world and the next world. Oi, what's going to happen? Hashem's going to be so angry. Chas v'shalom. Person should be angry, should speak to himself, and he should prepare himself before he does it. And he says that in every single thing that he's doing. And he says eventually over time, we won't need to do that anymore. Eventually that will become part of an automatic thing. We'll think before you do it, how I'm going to spend my emails, how I'm going to spend on WhatsApp, all these things we're going to spend. We'll know the time, and we'll have a little voice inside saying, no, you did that wrong. Next time to be more focused. And then he says over here, he says what happens, he says, as you go through time, and you'll see using your time, but you can see you could improve it. And he says as follows. He says every day, take a check. He said ideally you should write down what you're going to do. Don't take on too many things. Take on one area of your life that you're going to do this and increase it. But then you should look at that time. So he gives an example of Torah learning. So say, for example, you gave yourself, I'm going to learn an hour. I'll go through my Chumash. I'll listen to a Torah anytime share. I've got an hour that I'm going to do. But he says afterwards, you say, that hour that I'm going to learn this Gemara in, I reckon I could do it. If I was really focused, I could do it in 40 minutes. It's only because I'm daydreaming and I went to get a coffee and everything else. But I reckon I could learn my Chumash in that other 20 minutes. I reckon I could do 20 minutes Chumash as well as my 40 minutes, get that stuff in 40 minutes. So he says here, an interesting thing, his goal is here, how to use your time. He says, don't increase the time. Don't say, a big mistake we make, I'm learning well, I spend so much time learning or doing a mitzvah or whatever I'm doing, I'll do more of it. And we can't keep it up, so with a whole lot falls. That's the Yitzhara. Rather, if you specified an hour, half an hour, 10 minutes, don't increase that 10 minutes. Now I've got 10 minutes that I'm going to say Tehillim for. 10 minutes, like what I'm going to do. But then say, I can do this in 8 minutes. And the other 2 minutes, I'm going to do something else. He says, don't increase the time, maximize the time that you've allotted. And he says here, it's all about being focused. And he says, through time, through habit, we increase that, and eventually it becomes second nature over time. But he said the secret is we should be habituous and therefore take something small, any area of a life, whatever it is, whether it's Torah learning, whether it's a mitzvah, whether it's keeping calm, whether it's not talking Lashon Hara, talking Lashon Tov, whatever it is that a person's doing, that should that would help us in working to ignite the flame of enthusiasm and maximizing our life in this world, because this world is only here for a few years. This world is only a corridor. It's only a word for preparation. We said this world is a world of preparation in the ultimate world where we connect to our Kodesh Baruch Hu again. Kodesh Baruch Hu should always give us a Chanukah Sameach, should rejoice in Chanukah, an enthusiastic Chanukah. We should be on fire on Chanukah, literally with enthusiasm. We should, as the 8 days go through, we shouldn't go down like Beis Shammai. We go up, we pass on Beis Hillel. We increase every day. Enthusiasm should increase. We should get more fire, more enthusiastic. I want to see you on the 8th day of Chanukah where you'll be dancing in the streets. Yeah? That's how it's going to be. Okay, we're going to have a dancing, yeah, Chanukah, you're funny. Not by the end, oh no, thank God, enough candy. Look at donut, another candle, another oil, mess it. On the contrary, work ourselves through it. Don't do too much at the beginning of the first day. Pace it, work it, that's the enthusiasm. Think of a different idea, a different flavored donut, a different sort of oil, a different sort of menorah, change it around, do things, look for chidush to keep it fresh. Our Kodesh Baruch Hu should give us the wisdom and the heart in order that we can elevate ourselves, elevate our families and everyone around us, and we should be zoicha, merited to gula shalema b'mher v'meinu. Amen. Thank you everybody for coming. Wonderful. Thank you, Avinash, again for videoing and on the website. Thank you so much. So just remind everyone, if you want to bring your children in, please, there's cookies and cakes and things on the table. Please eat them. Please take it with you.